So you've probably already heard about the Los Angeles riots. But do you really know what happened back in 1992 in Los Angeles? Well, you might have heard of the riots by another name, like the Rodney King riots, or the South Central riots, or the Battle of Los Angeles. Regardless, these riots lasted until from April 29 until May 4th of 1992. The LA riots were a series of riots, lootings, arsons, and civil disturbances. Among all these, there was also numerous arrests and murders. Over 12,000 people were arrested and over 2,000 people were severely injured. This sounds awful, but how did everything really start? You must be wondering. Well, it all started back in 1991. On March 3rd of 1991, in the city of Los Angeles, California, four white highway patrolmen brutally beat Rodney King. A bystander who was watching filmed the whole incident, which lasted over 12 minutes. After this footage was released to the public, it caused an outrage across California, especially in Los Angeles. Now, I mentioned Rodney King earlier. Well, who really was Rodney King? Well, Rodney King was an African American taxicab driver in the city of Los Angeles. Rodney King became internationally famous. He was known as the victim of the LAPD brutality. And Rodney King would later become very influential to those involved in the civil rights movement. You've also probably heard about O.J. Simpson. O.J. Simpson was an ex-NFL running back, actor, and broadcaster. O.J. was mostly known for being an outstanding running back in the NFL. But also, he was known for a really big murder trial he was the main suspect of. Back in June 12, 1994, O.J.'s ex-wife Nicole Brown Simpson and her friend Ron Goldman were found brutally stabbed to death outside of Nicole Simpson's apartment in Los Angeles, California. Although Simpson was a person of interest, he did not turn himself in. In fact, he was the object of a low-speed chase all through the Los Angeles freeway in his famous 1993 white Ford Bronco. O.J. was eventually arrested and persecuted for both murders, but despite the overwhelming evidence piled against him, he was later found not guilty in a 9-month-long, very controversial trial. 2 years later, O.J. was found liable for both deaths in a civil lawsuit where he was ordered to pay $35 million in compensatory damages to the Brown and Goldman families. This, by far, is one of the most publicized criminal trials probably ever, and it was due to the fact that O.J. was famous. He was a celebrity. Also, because of how gruesome these murders were. There was also a really big controversy of racism, because one of the first officers to respond to the crime scene used the word O.J. in the court. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter is an international activist movement. It originated in the African American community. It campaigns against violence and systematic racism towards black people. The Black Lives Matter movement started back in 2013 as a hashtag on social media. It was started by 3 radical black organizers, Alicia Garza, Patrice Coolers, and Opal Tometi. It was a response to the murder of Trayvon Martin, who was just a 17-year-old African American from Miami, Florida, who was fatally shot and killed by a neighborhood watch volunteer. Thankfully, now that the Civil Rights Act has passed, now it's a lot less racist. Although there's still racism in the world, it's not as much as there used to be. So hopefully one day, there will be no racism at all.